Hey folks, it's Ben. I'm here with part 3 of the Ford Probe. The issue I'm having is that it's getting a little bit colder outside, so that's going to be harder and harder to work on here when it's so darn cold. But I wanted to kind of go through the engine compartment for those of you who aren't quite up to speed with what a Ford Probe looks like. What a turbocharged intercooled one is. So we're just going to go ahead and start off here. I'm no expert and I need your help because there's a lot of things that I don't even know where they go. So this is like for sure, this is going to be the wiper motor in this part of the motor compartment. But then I have these things here which are unplugged and they have wires. Looks like they plug down here, but that doesn't go to anything. It's just kind of a holder. Then I got these two pesky wires here. Now I'm still doing quite a bit of research in regards to what everything is because I'm trying to learn the car as well. So I got that to figure out and see what's going on there. You know, it doesn't look like they're plugged into anything around in this area here. So I'm just gonna have to find out what's going on. So we have the master brake cylinder and the vacuum assist that you have there. And unlike GM, I'm willing to bet that they just go ahead and put a check valve in there so when the engine's running under boost, it just doesn't deplete the brake booster. And then underneath of that, where all these brake lines are, is no doubt the ABS module. And the funny thing about the ABS module is that it's got this reservoir cover that you can take off and fill with liquid. So I don't know what's up with that because GM systems always were kind of, you know, in line. So here was your brake fluid reservoir, and then, you know, you just had your ABS unit, not a place to actually have another tank for it. So gotta find out about that. And then of course there's another one here, but this is for the clutch, I believe. It's a clutch master cylinder, and it also takes, I think it's DOT3 fluid. So we have the brake and the clutch. And then this thing here, which is interesting, it's a fuel filter. It's, again, I've never had a fuel injected car that had a clear filter before. So that'll be interesting, but it's fairly dirty. And but it'll be a neat visual indication, and clearly the car hasn't been getting fuel because there's air in that. So we got that to look forward to. While we're here, here's the coil. And if you follow the coil one under the intake, we actually get into the distributor cap. And so that's probably tied into the camshafts is my guess. So start with the basics though. Air box is there. Looks like we've got some sort of mass airflow sensor. That pipe then goes down under and over to the turbocharger. So it's probably on the inside of the turbocharger. And then it comes out as high pressure, high temperature air. Comes over here through this pipe, down over, and into the intercooler, which is in front of the radiator. Then it comes out, looks like on the same side but lower, travels along the bottom again, and comes up here into our throttle plate and our intake assembly. That then curls down into each cylinder port on the motor you see here. This is the camshaft. It's 3 valves per cylinder, which I'm guessing would be, with a turbo car, I'm guessing it would be 1 intake and 2 exhaust, which then comes out obviously the exhaust side and down into the hot side of our turbocharger, and then 1 pipe down the way, and there she goes. So that's the basic airflow of the engine. Here we have the primary fuel rail, and we have the fuel pressure regulator, which is connected to the manifold pressure, because it will depend on how much boost you're running as to how much fuel pressure you need to be running. And what I didn't know till recently was that on the end of this here, on my fuel rail, is where I can put a test gauge. So I'll be able to take that nut off, I'm presuming with an adapter with a Schrader valve, and be able to test fuel line pressure when I do actually get the pump up and going. Here are the 4 fuel injectors, throttle cable, and I'm guessing because this is very throttle cable looking, this would be related to, connected to my cruise control. So that one's not hard to find. Here are my 4 plug wires, which are easy to get to, although those plugs look like they are way in there. That's fine. We have to change those. The maintenance interval on this girl is about 30,000 miles, so we'll go ahead and change everything on it while we're doing things. The radiator system's fairly straightforward. It's got 2 fans, a pusher and a puller. So this guy pushes, this guy pulls through the intercooler too, so that's pretty cool. My Buick has a small little fan on the crank that actually pulls it, and this one just uses one of the cooling fans. Little radiator comes up to this little spout here. This pops off, and there's coolant, and then it comes over to the expansion tank over here. So this is where auxiliary coolant tank is. Windshield washer fluid, so there's a pump in there somewhere. And then power steering fluid, I'm guessing for the pump, which is probably this top one. Nope, there's one below it. That's probably the power steering pump. This up here is the air conditioner compressor, because we have our air conditioning lines and our little Schrader valve for topping the system, so that's the low pressure side. High pressure side. And that goes off to the cooling system that's going to be over here somewhere. Coming through here, we've got our cam timing. I don't know if it's a belt or a chain. I'm not sure what's going on here, but that's the inspection for it. Strut tower top over here. And then this is, I'm guessing, the canister for emissions purposes. It's under vacuum is my guess. It looks like we've got more air conditioner stuff here. This big line coming in looks like a wiring harness, because it comes off and breaks off into all the wires that come here. And then we've got this little wire here which looks home strung, but it's actually factory, and that goes to the front O2 sensor right off the turbo. We have a little power fuse box here next to the battery. Looks like we've got some fairly large relays up here as well, and I don't know if there are auxiliary fuses hiding behind that one or not. So we've got that going for us. This large cable here, which goes off into the block, no doubt is the block heater, which would be a typical standard thing for Canada. We've got a variety of relays up here, which I'm not sure what they're for yet either. And so that's pretty much the breakdown of the motor. It's not grossly hard to figure out. Most fuel-injected motors are pretty simple. Air in, fuel in, spark in, and you get power out, hopefully. So that's pretty much the rundown of the motor compartment. I need to find out about that. And our first dive is going to be into the fuel system, since I know something is wrong there. I'm also told there's a leak somewhere too in the exhaust system. So once we get the sparks burning, then we'll be able to go into the exhaust. But hopefully that kind of gives you a quick tour of the motor for this car. It's in pretty good shape. Like I say, it's about 100 and ignore the spare tire. It's only got 167,000 clicks, so that's pretty exciting. Go see my other videos for the interior of the car and me actually getting it here. And I'm pretty sure the next video will be focused on me working on the fuel system. Next weekend looks like it's going to be pretty warm, so we'll get a chance for that. Looks like the VIN's actually on the firewall, so that's pretty cool. But if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. Like I say, this car is mine now, so we'll figure it out. I did download a manual or two, so you can finally start reading up on the car. And if you know what those are, hey, could you drop me a comment or a suggestion as to where to look or what they are for? Plus, there are other little things around that I'm sure do things, but I haven't bumped into what yet. But we'll get there. Like there's clearly something supposed to be mounted there. That's a slot for something to click into, but there's nothing there. So what's missing? You know, is it a different option that this car doesn't have, or for a different motor, stuff for the V6? I'm not sure. Anyway, go ahead guys and subscribe for Turbo 231 for more Ford Probe updates, and we'll see you next time. For watching, leave any questions or comments down below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for awesome updates on what I'm doing. Please check out the next video I've got lined up for you, and also check out my Patreon page if you want to support what we're doing here. And finally, check out my other less tractory page, Red Barn Homestead. You can subscribe to that too, see some awesome stuff. And we'll see you next time.